This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Again, for the 1,000th time, maybe more, the Republican Party is the party of projection. The Republican Party is the party of accusation when they are guilty of the same thing that they are accusing others of. They like to talk a lot about the mental capacity, the cognitive ability and acuity of Joe Biden as though he is senile, as though he's melting right before our eyes, that he is in the throes of dementia. Now, all of this is absolute nonsense because when you watch Joe Biden in an unscripted, impromptu interview, he stands on his own 2 feet. He answers the questions. Is he 80? Does he walk a little? Is his gait abrupt because he's 80? Yeah. He's still riding bikes. He's out there. He's running the country. For me, his cognitive state is not an issue any more than any other 80-year-old is. Donald Trump, on the other hand, who's accusing Joe Biden during the campaign in 2020 of running his campaign from his basement because he's afraid and doesn't know where he is and all of this nonsense, is actually a few steps behind who he was years ago. I mean, it's always been bad with his free association, just rambling. But it's getting worse. First is this nonsense that he's keeping repeating. It's not about the trickling showers or the toilets that don't flush. You got to flush them 1,000 times. Bleh. It's not that. It's the continued obsession with the windmills, the wind turbines that he calls windmills, that now they're accusing this renewable resource, this free source of energy from the wind, green energy. They're claiming, because they want to protect the oil industry, the coal industry, they're claiming that it's killing whales willy-nilly now. Make it make sense. I mean, it's along the same lines of any time a celebrity dies, they say that, oh, must have been the vaccine. Bob Saget died. Oh, must have been the vaccine. Anybody get sick? Oh, it must have been the vaccine. Here's Donald Trump, again, in South Carolina yesterday, talking about the whales and how he's figured it out. It's the windmills killing whales all over the place, and it's some conspiracy, I guess. Watch this.
But you have a better chance of being struck by lightning than hitting a whale with your boat. There has only been, listen to this, one such whale killed off the coast of South Carolina in the last 50 years. But on the other hand, their windmills are causing whales to die in numbers never seen before. Nobody does anything about that. They're washing up on shore. I saw it this weekend. 3 of them came up. You wouldn't see it once a year. Now they're coming up on a weekly basis. The windmills are driving them crazy. They're driving the whales, I think, a little batty.
So what this stems from, apparently, because it's all a conspiracy theory and nonsense, a debunked one at that, is that apparently the wind turbine mechanisms is causing so much noise that it's harming whales to the point that they're dying, as though boats and giant ships and shipping containers, shipping vessels don't create noise in the oceans. It's just the windmills. You would think Donald Trump, at some point, somebody would get in his ear and say, hey, look, stop calling them windmills, dipshit. They're not windmills. This isn't Holland. They're wind turbines. They are a highly technologically advanced piece of equipment to generate power. But this is what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has to say about this very thing. NOAA fisheries use necropsies to determine the cause of whale death. Necropsies can help determine if there is evidence from vessel strikes, entanglement, or acoustic trauma, which is what we're talking about here. Acoustic trauma, which could result from close exposure to loud human-produced sounds, is very challenging to assess, particularly with any amount of decomposition from the dead whale. Scientists look for bruising or trauma to the ear and other organs, but linking it to a particular sound source is difficult, as certain parts of the ear decompose very quickly within hours, even more so than some of the other parts of the animal. If the whale is already in moderate to advanced decomposition, then microscopic changes in the ear are generally no longer detectable. Baleen whales, I think I'm saying that correctly, and toothed whales have different hearing ranges, which affects how these animals respond to different levels of sound. We look at the samples collected from each necropsied animal to further understand other factors that may have contributed to the stranding, because some of these whales are stranding themselves. But this is where the conspiracy theory comes from. Let me finish this last couple paragraphs. But we may not even have a definitive answer for each of these cases. Stranding and inconclusive necropsies have occurred long before offshore wind was a factor, so correlating the two is not based in science. They're saying there is zero evidence whatsoever to link the sounds coming from the wind turbines, the windmills, and the death of whales. But that doesn't matter to Trump world, where correlation is causation, the exact opposite of what it is. Correlation does not equal causation. Just like when a celebrity dies who's been vaccinated, it doesn't mean the vaccine killed them. Dumb shits. Here's another clip. This is Donald Trump really showing that he is in decline, that he doesn't really fully have a grasp on what is going on around him, on the things that have happened in his own past relative to his running mates and the history of our country. Here, he's talking about the campaign being in full swing, the primary being in full swing, and they're going to go into Florida, and he starts talking about the 2016 campaign where Jeb Bush was his adversary in the primary. And I want you to listen to what he thinks Jeb Bush did while he, Jeb Bush, was president of the United States. Watch this.
It's less than 4 months before the season starts. We start in Iowa, we go to New Hampshire, we come down here. You know, the beauty was when I came here, everyone thought Bush was going to win. And then they took a poll and they found out Trump was up by about 50 points. Everyone said, what's going on right here? They thought Bush, because Bush supposedly was a military person. Great. You know what he was a military? He got us into the Middle East. How did that work out, right? But they all thought that Bush might win. Jeb. Remember Jeb? He used the word Jeb. He didn't use the word Bush. I said, you mean he's ashamed of the last name? And then they immediately started using the name Bush. Never forget it. But we came here.
I'll never forget it. Apparently you will forget it, Donald Trump. Apparently you forgot Donald Trump, because not only was Jeb Bush not someone who got us into the Middle East, Jeb Bush was never president of the United States at all. He was the governor of Florida. So how, under any circumstance, would he have had the constitutional authority to get us into the Middle East? You're either talking about George H.W. Bush, 41, the 41st president of the United States, or George W. Bush, Jeb Bush's brother, and George H.W. Bush's son, the 43rd president of the United States, both of whom got the United States or were at the helm when the United States entered into conflicts in the Middle East. It wasn't Jeb Trump. It wasn't Jeb Trump supporters. But while you rail about Joe Biden being in cognitive decline, you ignore this dipshit. This person who thought that he ran against Obama in 2016 just weeks ago. This is a man who is not well. And again, from months and months and months and months ago, maybe over a year ago, is he setting himself up for some kind of a defense? Like, I'm losing it. I can't be prosecuted for all of my crimes because my brain is melting. Is that what he's going to do? Because then MAGA world would have to jump on board with that narrative, and they would have to admit that Donald Trump is a shadow of his former self, which is, the former self wasn't big in the first place. The shadow is even smaller and more insignificant. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. You can email me the old-fashioned way, daily@dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to help support my work, if you appreciate what I do, if I bring you value, easy as that. If I bring you value that you think is worth $1.99 a month, click that join button, see what's involved in becoming a channel member. For $2 a month, you can help support and produce what we do here. You can hit the super thanks button, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. You can follow me on social media. I am at Dollemore on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, all of them at Dollemore. And I'll see you later. I appreciate you very much. Be genuine. Take care of one another.